Hi there, guys. Well, I'm just going to say what a show. I'm so glad to be here at the first India, so I guess everyone clapped here for as well for joining us. I work on KILT protocol. So my name is Dudley Needham, and I've been working on the protocol for a few years now. Today we'll just go over a few of the quick introduction about what KILT is and what we do with digital identity. What is the protocol? So the protocol basically is just being used as for verifiable credentials and DIDs. These DIDs are decentralized identifiers, and basically these are an emerging standard that we've been using in the last few months as well, and we've been working with it for the last year or a couple of years or so. So what we want to do is try to replicate what we see in the real world, and that's basically making sure that we have an identity on a digital identity. So again, we're trying to take what we see in the real world as how we see identity and how we deal with identity and bring that trust into the digital world. Again, I should mention that the digital identity isn't just associated with human identity. It can be of various things, machines, IoT devices, legal entities like companies, so pretty much anything. So, what is digital identity? So, for us, we see digital identity as two things. It's basically the verifiable credential and the identifier, and that kind of makes up the identity. So, this identifier is the DID itself, and that's kind of what you can imagine like your fingerprint or your signature, essentially, that's going to be unique to you. And then we have credentials. These credentials here, you can see, is basically trying to assess or give you attributations to like yourself or a claim. So I've talked about decentralized identifiers quite a few times, and I'd like to just bring this up because I think it's a very important standard that's come out recently. So it came out in July as a standard by the W3C, so the World Wide Web Consortium, and I think it's very important to establish what it tries to do. So it makes something verifiable. The identity subject itself has cryptographic techniques to prove its ownership, right, and who they are. And they're decentralized. So your management of your identity is down into your own control, and it's not dependent on some centralized registry or control. I've mentioned it a few times, but what does it actually look like? So again, I think you can see here, if I just move out of the way a little bit, there's two things. On the left-hand side is the identifier itself. What it looks like a hex string, or it looks like a human readable. So I'll get into the second one in a minute. I'll just go over the document. So when we actually query the identifier, this is what they were looking for on-chain. This is what we place on-chain so that people can actually see what we have. All the cryptographic material that we have is basically associated here with the different keys that we can manage or have. So again, you can have multiple utility on this DID document. So again, it's really this helps me visualize what's actually happening. And then I've got here at the bottom is called W3N, the counselor. That's me, because I'm part of the KILT council. So if you want to query me, you can use a service that we have to find me on chain, and then you can look at my document and see any proposals that I've accepted or things that I've done on our own chain governance. So I think it's very important for us to discuss the difference between identity from the accounts. I think a lot of times people associate an account with an identity. And I think what we want to establish here is that the DID standard is to provide a fatter identity hub. And this is not coupled with the accounts. So you can still hold your accounts and still have your accounts. They pay the fees. They do on-chain governance. They have one thing that makes controlling an identity very difficult, and they have a fixed private key. So again, if you have unfortunately compromised your key, you lose your identity, and I think that's very much a downfall. Whereas the DIDs, they can do lots of other stuff, but they do not hold a balance. They do key rotation, so you can change out your keys, you can rotate your keys out if any of them becomes compromised, and then you can link it to multiple accounts. So you can associate your accounts to your DID, and you can also have something that's human readable, which was my identifier, which was the counselor previously. So how does that all work together? So I mentioned previously verifiable credentials. So once you have your identifier, you can then start attributing certain credentials towards yourself, and that allows you to really like flesh out your identity. You know, in the real world, I have my wallet. It's filled with all my credentials, and it's got all of my driver's license, my ID card. And then my identifier is essentially my face, right? That's how we live in the real world, and we wanted to kind of replicate that. What we see at the moment is sometimes we can, I'll just say that we've got a private credential here on the left and the public credential on the right, and I can explain the two differences in a second. But the private credential is something that you as an individual hold, and then you have the right to sign or be able to do stuff with it. And you can also disclose it. So you can see here within this credential, I have my name, age, and email address. So all of this information is then like hashed, and that's what I am anchoring to the blockchain. So this private credential is what I hold as a person on my wallet, on my device, and it's not being shared at all unless I choose to share it. And then what I can do is I can disclose which information I want to share. So part of this happens with like a Merkle proof, basically from this claim hashes here. So if I don't want to disclose that I'm Dudley Needham, I can hide one of those claim hashes or not disclose it. And again, the same for the, not the claim hashes, but the nonce. Again, for the nonce mapping, I can also just hide it for the email as well and just show that I'm 29, and that's just a verification proof that I am over 18. So yeah, so as an individual, you're going to want to have private credentials, and you're going to have them on top of your DIDs and hold them. So the public credentials, I think, is a very important use case, and this is something for assets or on object. So again, we can define or identify what an object is, such as an NFT or IoT device or as such. But the thing about these devices or objects, they are unable and incapable of signing for themselves. So they cannot make attributes. They cannot attribute to them specific claims about themselves. So we do this on their behalf. And so you can have something like this as a credential for an NFT, and you can see what you can do with it. Again, there's many different things there. I know I have to speak quickly because unfortunately the time is short. So yeah. So, yes. So how do we do this in a standardized way and make sure that we're all speaking the same language with these credentials? One of the important things that we've established is claim types. So anyone can build their own claim type, and they can define them and anchor them to the blockchain. So this is just a JSON schema. This JSON schema basically represents what this claim is all about. And you can look it up on chain, and this gives the structure to the claim. And I think it's very important to establish that anyone can build their own claim types, and they're not restricted by anyone. So here we have one that has like an ID number, name, and national and age. So this one allows people to access certain things from the KILT network, which is one of our partners that we have. So yeah. Again, it's very important that we all speak the same language. So what we wanted to do is standardize this and make sure that they are publicly available for anyone. And so you can query them and be able to fetch that information to make sure that when you do verify your data or a claim, that you will be able to make sure that this is against this specific claim structure. All right. So it does. So how does it work in the end? I guess it's the attestation. So basically, when you have like these credentials, you need to prove that you have someone checked them and verified that this claim is specifically for this individual, and that the data within that claim actually is validated and verified by someone who's trusted. So this is what we do, is we have these actors called attesters. These attesters create these attestations which are anchored to the chain. So the attestation is the proof that the credential has been checked and issued on-chain to a specific given credential. And that's done by the root hash. So you take that root hash and you anchor that to the chain with some other information, and that allows you to have this proof on-chain that this credential is given to you by a specific attester. So this attester could have trust in the real world, and we want to add that to the blockchain as well with a digital identity. Yeah. So then this kind of accumulates to the whole process of how the workflow goes. And we can just talk about the various actors in these last few seconds. So we have a verifier, a claimer or user, and the attester, and they're the trusted entities. So each of these three work together to try to, so basically the claimer will come to an attester and say, I have this claim about me. So for Dudley, my name is Dudley, I want to go to a bar, and I want to prove that I am over 18. So I go to a trusted attester, I show them my ID, and then they verify this information through some means. And once they've done this work, they will then issue you an attestation and then anchor this to the blockchain as well and send back this credential to you. And then so now I want to go to the bar, and so this verifier is the bouncer, for example. The bouncer will ask for my digital identity, and they'll ask for my credential for over 18 or what my age is. So then I provide this credential that I've been received from the attester, and then I show it to the verifier, and then the verifier just queries it on chain, and they just check to see, hey, do I trust this attester? Is it within my listed trust of attesters? I say yes, and then so forth, I can go have a beer. So yeah. So I know it was short, so thank you very much for your attention, and I'm super happy to be here, and I think it's really amazing to see so many new faces to the Polkadot ecosystem. So yeah.